dentists, while they're in school, are taught that you can be an entrepreneur, you can own your own business, you can control your own destiny and all that kind of good stuff, which is largely true. To have a group practice that doesn't solve for an equity opportunity is a major miss. And nobody's going to stay in your, no associate that's a high performer, at least, is going to stay in a business where they don't have a track for equity, an opportunity to earn equity or to buy equity or to become a partner in the business.
Now, and a lot of these bigger practices, like these bigger DSOs, right? They've kind of pivoted in their position on that, right?
Completely, and justifiably so. I mean, they, we see a lot of different equity structures out there, and there are a lot of different ways to kind of skin that cat, so to speak. But for, a young associate entering the business, be it out of school or out of an early associateship in a prior organization that's carrying a lot of debt, they may not be predisposed to want to take on more debt to buy into the business. So how do you create an opportunity for equity where they don't have to write a check for it? And that's the real thing that we've been able to build a mousetrap around, to be honest with you. And I always joke that when I talk with us about people that I'd love for anybody in the audience to think that my partner Diwakar Sinha and I are the biggest geniuses in all of dentistry. And if you want to believe that, have at it. It is obviously it's true. Don't let me dispel it. But the equity models that we built for group dental practices are based around something called restricted stock units and profits interest units that are commonplace in corporate America for management level executives and high performers. And he and I were the beneficiaries of them when we worked for corporate America. So when everybody kept coming to us and saying, how do I attract and retain associates? If you hear that same question 1,000 times, the light bulb starts to go off that maybe there's a problem, and how could, if we could solve that, and so it took us quite a while to do this. And if you ever want to see an Excel model that looks like a bowl of spaghetti that's all wrapped around one another, this would absolutely be it. But the idea is that an associate, through their high performance in terms of collections, can earn equity in a business without actually having to buy it. And the founder takes dilution, meaning they go from being 100% owner of a business to 80% owner, for example, and the associate or associates earn some percentage of the business. But due to their high level of performance and the increasing profitability of the business, the value of the founder's shares grows at a faster rate than the dilutive impact. So they become a slightly smaller owner of a much larger pie. And it's truly one of those scenarios that's win-win-win. It's a great thing for the associate. It's a great thing for the founder or founders, and it's a great thing for the business overall. So
and why hasn't that become more popular? Like what's the roadblock in dentistry to make that just take off where everybody does it if it's such a win-win?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'm going to try to be humble in giving you this response. So I think the reasons that it hasn't become commonplace are a couple. One, the traditional way of partnerships in dentistry is, I own a practice valued at $1 million. Gary, you're going to be my 50% partner. Go to ABC Bank, take on a $500,000 loan and buy in. All right, so that's the way things have always been done, whether it's deferred comp or immediate buy-in or earn in over time or whatever. So that's the way that everybody knows is commonplace. Or we just pay you a really, really high compensation rate in exchange for equity, and you're a hired gun kind of thing. Well, now with the opportunity to use a model like this, it does create a lot of really compelling outcomes. And I think the more people get exposed to us is the more people are asking about it. So when you hear people ask about RSUs, for example, we've been talking about this for 4 years now. And I mean, that's probably they've heard something we've said, they've read something we've written, they've seen a presentation or something, and now it's starting to enter the parlance of the industry, if you will. The real reason that it hasn't taken off is because it's damn complicated to create. And I mean, this thing, the initial version probably took us the better part of a year of modeling this. And every quarter we iterate something on it to create a, either a more complicated outcome
Yeah.
based on something that a client says, like, hey, well, could we do this, this, and this? And DeWalker, being the genius that he is, never tells a client no. So I mean, I'm like, great, you just obligated our data and analytics team to however many hours of work to come up with this. So I think it's super complicated. We've had a lot of CPAs actually say this is incredibly compelling, and I have no idea how you built it. And we keep that pretty close to the vest. We'll give them a PDF of it,
Yeah.
but we don't give them the working model.
Yeah.
And I think understanding it as thoroughly as we do on how it all fits together, and then working with a handful of law firms that understand the legal structures to facilitate this, from award agreements to operating agreements and all that kind of stuff, is also critically important. So it's not easy. It's very complicated, and it would take somebody a lot of time to do it.